Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. Well, I got a crazy story for you about a former Major League Baseball pitcher and how he destroyed his life and the life of his in-laws. And you hear me talk about it all the time in some of these crazy videos, or crazy stories. Today we live in such a godless existence on earth, and there's a huge callousness for mankind and humanity in today's times. People are willing to do anything and everything for money, including murdering or killing their own family or in-laws. And I tell you all the time that depression, helplessness, hopelessness, untreated mental illness, these are all real things. And some people have thrown their moral compass out of the window. So this story has allegations of greed, allegations of selfishness, callousness, chasing the bag by any means necessary, including crossing the line into criminality and or allegations of murder. So, and this guy was at the pinnacle, at the top. This is a former Major League Baseball pitcher named Dan Serafini, sentenced to life in prison for shooting his in-laws. So, ex-Major League Baseball pitcher Dan Serafini was sentenced on Friday to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the 2021 murder of his father-in-law and attempted murder of his mother-in-law. So listen to how this story goes. In a Placer County, California courtroom, the jury concluded that Serafini's actions were deliberate and premeditated when he shot his in-laws, Robert Gary Spoor and Wendy Wood, in their home in Lake Tahoe following serious financial disputes. Miss Wood, the mother-in-law, survived her injuries but died by suicide 1 year later. He is a monster. He is a monster that knows no moral boundaries and has zero reservations about taking lives to benefit himself. That's what Adrienne Spoor, Serafini's sister-in-law, said during his sentencing on Friday. Over the course of the 6-week trial, jurors heard about heated disputes over financial obligations and communications leading up to the murder, said the Placer County District Attorney's Office. The former Major League first-round draft pick was found guilty in July of waiting inside his in-laws' home with a gun before fatally shooting his father-in-law in the head and gravely injuring his mother-in-law. Serafini and his lover, Samantha Scott, and they had he was married to the daughter of the in-laws that he shot, but he also had an open marriage, and he had this girlfriend that's caught up in this case. So Serafini and his lover, Samantha Scott, were arrested 2 years after the incident. Samantha Scott later testified that she gave Serafini a ride the day of the shooting, believing it was a drug deal, before Serafini later admitted that he had shot his in-laws. Prosecutors accused Dan Serafini of targeting his in-laws to access a multi-million-dollar inheritance. According to Adrienne Spoor, Dan Serafini and her sister, Erin, had taken millions of dollars from her parents over the years, including over $1 million for a horse estate and smaller installments for nanny services and to pay off credit cards. Spoor said that Serafini and her sister continued to ask her mother for money after the attempted murder. Dan Serafini showed no remorse, she said. He cashed in a $200,000 check made to him from his victim's account just weeks after holding a gun to her head and pulling the trigger. Spoor said her sister and Dan Serafini fought her efforts to post a reward announcement for her father's murderer. And now we know why, she said during the sentencing. That at sentencing, Spoor asked for her brother-in-law to be given the maximum sentence, including a period of solitary confinement, as Spoor feared Dan Serafini might conspire with other prisoners to murder her. Dan Serafini should never see the outside of a prison again. And remember, this is the sister-in-law, Adrienne Spoor, who was speaking about Dan Serafini. Dan Serafini continued to claim his innocence during sentencing, calling the trial a popularity contest and giving his condolences to the victims of this heinous crime. Serafini spent 7 years in the big leagues, logging time with the Minnesota Twins, Chicago Cubs, Pittsburgh Pirates, Cincinnati Reds, San Diego Padres, and the Colorado Rockies. His busiest season was in 1998, where he went 7-4 with a 6.4 ERA for the Twins. He also pitched professionally in Japan, Taiwan, and Mexico. So in conclusion on this crazy story, the crime happened on June 5th, 2021. On the day of the murder, prosecutors alleged that Dan Serafini snuck into his in-laws' home in Lake Tahoe wearing a black hoodie and white mask with a hidden .22 caliber gun and waited while they were by the lake with his wife, Erin, and their 2 grandsons. After the ambush, his father-in-law, Gary Spoor, died from a single gunshot wound to the head, while his mother-in-law, Wendy Wood, survived the shooting and needed extensive rehabilitation. However, a year later, Miss Wood, Wendy Wood, his mother-in-law, she died by suicide a year later. What a shocking fall for a man who was once a first-round Major League Baseball pitcher and first-round draft pick, and is now spending the rest of his life behind bars. Tell me what you think of this story about helplessness, hopelessness, anger, greed, godlessness. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.